Away from the NCAA tournament, there was a big headline on Saturday out of Memphis. The Daily Memphian and the Commercial Appeal both obtained copies of Memphis's notice of allegations. Not pretty. 4 level 1 violations. The notice of allegations that Memphis released, it is heavily redacted, so we remain light on details. But again, there are 4 level 1 violations, and what we do know is that it alleges that Memphis, quote, failed to disclose and provide access to all personal devices, failed to timely produce requested and relevant documents, and failed to protect the integrity of the investigation. Memphis is more or less accused of obstructing the investigation. If true, that's obviously bad. Strongjaw, as an Oklahoma State alum, you know what it's like to have NCAA issues. How concerned should Memphis fans be right now?
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about this in the context of Oklahoma State. I would imagine that Memphis is going to be hit pretty hard. Probably a postseason ban, I would think, would be kind of the bar. Oklahoma State had a postseason ban. They had scholarship losses. They're on probation. And this was for a former assistant, Lamont Evans, who allegedly accepted like $18,000 in bribery money to use his influence to steer players to certain financial advisors. OSU fired him, but the NCAA said an aggravating factor in that case was Evans' decision not to cooperate. Oklahoma State cooperated in full with NCAA investigators, and they were still hit really, really hard. The fact that Memphis openly defied what is typically NCAA tradition, in this case being James Wiseman's eligibility questions. Typically, if that happens, a school holds out a player until they're able to clear it with the NCAA. James Wiseman kept playing. James Wiseman filed lawsuit. He got an injunction, and he was able to keep playing. Now, he only played in 3 games for Memphis. I'm not sure if you take that into account or not. Obviously, the NCAA did not. But Memphis's open defiance of NCAA norms, the fact that they did not properly preserve documents is how the NCAA put it. Mike Miller's hard drive was wiped. It doesn't look good for Memphis. We will see, I guess, how this goes. The Memphis case is obviously going through IARP. Oklahoma State's case did not go through IARP. But this looks pretty grim for Penny Hardaway, who was the only individual mentioned in the case, and for Memphis too. I would imagine they're going to be facing some pretty stiff penalties, and I'm curious to see how they handle Memphis and also Penny Hardaway as well.
The frustrating thing is that this is all just so stupid and something that was totally avoidable had Memphis just done what literally every school besides Memphis, I think, would have done when it was told James Wiseman had eligibility problems. All Memphis had to do is exactly what, you ready for this? Kentucky once did with Enes Kanter. What Kansas once did with Billy Preston and Silvio De Sousa. What Louisville once did with Brian Bowen. What Syracuse once did with Fab Melo. What Carolina once did with P.J. Hairston. What Auburn once did with Austin Wiley and D'Angelo Purifoy. You know, as I explained in a column back in 2019 that you reminded me of, Kyle. I forgot I'd written it, but you tweeted and I saw it. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. I was like, let me read it and see how this holds up. I was like, oh, really? Wow, well. This holds up really well. Yeah. As I explained in a column back in 2019, when eligibility issues arose with each of those players at some of the biggest schools in college basketball, that's the thing Memphis fans get caught up on sometimes. Oh, they're only doing this to Memphis. They wouldn't do this to Kansas. They literally have done it to Kansas multiple times. They wouldn't do this to Kentucky. They did it to Kentucky. Well, they wouldn't do this to North Carolina. They did it to North Carolina. You guys not have Google? As I explained back in 2019, when eligibility issues arose with each of those programs, the players were withheld from competition until the issues were resolved. Period. In some cases, they were never resolved favorably. Ennis Cantor never played for Kentucky. Billy Preston never played for Kansas. But James Wiseman was always going to be able to play for Memphis eventually. All Memphis had to do was rule him ineligible and then apply for reinstatement instead of playing in those first 3 games. And I know that people sometimes bring up, well, he got an injunction. He went to court and got an injunction. Okay. He got an injunction. All that meant was that he couldn't be ruled ineligible. It didn't mean he had to play. There is no court or judge that can make Penny Hardaway turn in a certain starting lineup. No judge can make you, like, if I get an injunction, can I start for Memphis? What are you talking about? This is the thing that some Memphis fans just still cannot understand. Holy God. Just because he got an injunction doesn't mean he had to play. You didn't have to play it. All Memphis had to do is rule him ineligible, sit him out, and then apply for reinstatement. It would have likely resulted in a 9-game suspension. That's it. Instead, Memphis was like, Leroy Jenkins. They just ran in. Decided to play James Wiseman in defiance of the NCAA. It was stupid for a lot of reasons. But mostly because it triggered an infractions case that allowed investigators to look at everything. So they did. And now Memphis is charged with 4 level 1 violations. In a move that seemed dumb to anybody who understands how these things go, the Memphis president, emboldened by Memphis fans on Twitter and message boards who aren't nearly as smart at least when it comes to these things, as much as they are passionate when it comes to everything. The Memphis president decided the school should fight the NCAA. We're going to fight them. Okay. Well, how's that going? You enjoying this fight? Instead of just doing the smart thing and sitting James Wiseman for what would have been 9 games, you played him in defiance of the NCAA, which eventually led to a 12-game suspension, which eventually led to James Wiseman quitting the team the week before Christmas. You never even got to benefit from him. And now you spent who knows how much money on lawyers fighting this stupid fight. And now you're facing the possibility of major sanctions, among them a postseason ban, scholarship reductions, and a suspension for your head coach.
Yep.
How's your fight going? Let me ask you this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Memphis fans remain mad to this moment at the NCAA. And I get it. It's easy to hate the NCAA. But shouldn't Memphis fans actually be mad at the Memphis employees who decided to go down this foolish path rather than just do the only smart thing there was to do under those circumstances? And I want to be very clear. This is not revisionist history. On the day that it became known publicly that James Wiseman had eligibility issues and it was reported that Memphis was going to play him anyway, you can go pull the tapes. I said, this is idiotic. This is a mistake. They should not be doing this. And I got turned into the bad guy. Oh, you're just a hater. No, I'm just not stupid. I'm just not dumb. And like some of the Memphis media got caught up in it too. I mean, people I'm friends with, they got caught up in it too. Oh, fight the NCAA. F the NCAA. You got to go fight. Okay. Go fight. See how that goes. You're being foolish and short-sighted. And now here we are. Why shouldn't Memphis fans be more upset with the people who put Memphis in this position for no good reason rather than the NCAA, which was just doing what it's done many times throughout its history, including to the biggest programs in the sport like Kentucky, Kansas, Carolina, Syracuse, Louisville, on down the line.
There's a long history of teams or programs having success by simply denying allegations to the NCAA or outright fighting allegations by the NCAA by simply denying. There's really not a history of programs like Memphis that are successful in completely thumbing your nose at the NCAA. And that's really what Memphis did in this case. They completely ignored, again, just basic norms, basic things that programs typically do when there's an eligibility issue. And instead of being patient, they decided to fight. And instead of, maybe Weissman serves a 9-game suspension and that's that. Now Memphis has a significant infractions case on its hand. Significant. And even in the moment, to know that it was wrong, that you called it out, and I don't mean to pump you up a little bit, but reading that column again earlier today, it is hilarious at how predictable this was, how avoidable it was for Memphis. And even in the moment, it almost felt like, okay, well, maybe Memphis knows something that we don't, because why else would they be doing this? That was not the case at all. They knew what we knew, and still they made the wrong decision. And clearly they're going to be paying for this. The question is how much. I'm curious to see how they handle this case, because this is an IARP case. And we don't have a lot of experience with how these cases are handled, but I am pretty confident that Memphis is going to get hit pretty hard with some sort of sanctions, probably scholarship losses. I would imagine a postseason ban. I would imagine several years probation. Hardaway is probably going to serve some sort of suspension, is my guess. I mean, it's a significant infractions case that, for the most part, feels like it was pretty avoidable.
Well, the dumb, like, there's a whole lot of dumb parts to this. Like, almost every part of it is dumb. But like, the dumbest part is, this isn't even one of those deals where the NCAA came in and said, hey, we think you did this thing. Now this player has an eligibility problem and you need to hold him out until we can resolve this. And Memphis is like, well, that thing didn't happen and we'll fight you on it because it just didn't happen. So let's fight. They had already agreed on the facts of the case. The NCAA had already said, hey, we think the mom got some money from Penny Hardaway when Penny was the head coach at East High School and James Wiseman was a player at East High School, and Memphis was like, yeah, that happened. I mean, I don't know that it went exactly like that, but my point is they all agreed on what happened. Like, Memphis has never denied that Penny Hardaway gave James Wiseman's mom money. So they agreed on the facts of the case. Memphis was just like, well, okay, yeah, that happened, but you shouldn't punish us for that. Let's fight. I mean, pick a fight where you can at least try to say didn't happen. Like the fight North Carolina picked with the NCAA. Like, at least they had a fighting chance. That's how they won. Because based on how the rule book is written, they were like, hey, there's a loophole here. We might be able to actually fight our way out of this. For Memphis, you can't agree that what the NCAA said happened, but then want to fight about it. Like, what are you even doing? And when you decide to fight about it, by fight about it, I mean play James Wiseman in defiance of the NCAA, you trigger an infractions case and you open yourself up to an investigation that is not limited to James Wiseman. Once they're on your campus, they can look at whatever they want to look at. Like, coaches have been talking about this for as long as I've been doing this. Last thing you want to do is give the NCAA a reason to come on your campus, because they'll come on your campus looking for one thing and they'll find 50 other things. And now you got a bad problem. Don't ever let them on your campus looking at one thing, because it won't be that thing that gets you. It'll be everything else. And now here's Memphis getting charged with all these things that don't technically have much to do or anything to do with James Wiseman. It'd be like, imagine you're in a car and you get pulled over for like no turn signal. Cop pulls you over. Officer, what's the problem? Well, you didn't turn your turn signal on. You took a right. Okay. So I'm going to have to write you a ticket for that. Well, I'm not taking your ticket. Well, it's just like it's a minor ticket. It's not that big of a deal. You should just take the ticket. I'm not taking the ticket. I'll take that ticket, throw it right back in your face. Oh, okay. Well, like, if you do that, then I'm going to have to arrest you. Well, watch this, because if you try to give me that ticket, I'm throwing it back in your face. Well, then I'm going to have to arrest you. I'm going to put you in handcuffs, and then we're going to search your car. Well, then that's just what you're going to have to do, because I'm fighting you on this very minor thing. So then they put you in handcuffs, they search your car, and you got 3 kilos of coke in the trunk. Now you're dealing with a felony charge. It's like, why would you want the cops to search your car when you got 3 kilos of coke in the trunk? Why would you invite that? Why wouldn't you just take your little minor turn signal ticket and be done with this? And that's perhaps not a perfect analogy, but you get the point. Memphis could have taken a little ticket. The ticket would have been a 9-game suspension for James Wiseman. No infractions case, no investigation. It would have been done. But you'd say, I'm not taking this little ticket. I'll throw it back in your face. We're going to fight with you. Hashtag free James Wiseman. I'm an idiot. All right. Well, now we're going to come look at everything we can look at. And now we just found a computer wiped clean. We can't get a hold of the cell phones the way we want to get a hold of them. We don't feel like you've been cooperating the way we think you should. And now you're facing all sorts of stuff. What were you doing? I mean, what were you doing? It's just so dumb. That's the part that's frustrating. It's so dumb. And too many of the Memphis fans still to this moment can't recognize how dumb it was or why it was dumb. I think most of them do. To their credit, I think most of them do. But not all of them. Some of them are still, they think it's NCAA out to get them or whatever else. No, the NCAA wasn't out to get you. You went and threw an egg through the front window of a police station. Nobody was out to get you. But when you do what you did, well, now they're coming for you.
It's just hilarious how truly avoidable this was. And I think Memphis's inexperience, specifically with the administration in any NCAA cases, probably showed itself in just an ugly way. Memphis would not make the same mistake if the same situation arose this tomorrow. But you certainly learned your lesson the hard way. And it's going to be pretty nasty, I would imagine, for Penny, for the program, and the same people who were tweeting hashtag free James Wiseman are probably going to be the people who are complaining loudest about the penalties that this program is up against.